Tucker Carlson is ousted at Fox, and all the fat ladies at The View sing in excitement. But is it really over for Tucker? We're going to talk about it. Joe Biden announced his bid for re-election and vowed to finish the job. Does America want to rehire him? We have Tyrone Keys from Soldiers of Finance here to give the pass or fail grade on his economic policy thus far. Also, the left continue their iconic praise of people like George Floyd. This time, it's Maryland's governor, Wes Moore, praising Freddie Gray, who was a career criminal and died while in police custody. But the way the left acts, he died for our sins and is a martyr for the faith. Now, Ralph Yarl's shooting is another incident being used to push the leftist agenda. We'll talk about why Black folks keep falling for this stuff. Next, Jada Pinkett Smith is putting out a Netflix documentary about Cleopatra that has been accused of appropriating Egyptian culture. And finally, ever since the lockdowns, a lot of people seem to have become unhinged. We'll show you the latest bizarre happening on an airplane that may make you second guess taking your next flight. All that and more next. Good evening. It's Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, and let me introduce you to my co-hosts. We have Shelly E, Yana, and it's the last Wednesday of the month. So tonight we have joining us Tyrone Keys of Soldiers of Finance. How are you all doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Great. I'm happy to hear it. As I always say, join the conversation by leaving a comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and want to support what we do, donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com for up-to-date information. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, everybody, let's set it off. We got Tyrone here to join us for the beginning of the show, so I'm really excited about that. And speaking of that, we're going to talk about Tucker Carlson. Starting right off with that this evening, Tucker Carlson is no longer with Fox. So the news was aired last Friday. I'm sorry, it was aired Monday, I believe. His last show aired Friday. News that he and Fox would part. So they never said whether he was let go or if he decided to leave. The headline was he and Fox News have parted ways. So I think this is going to be a good thing for Patriots, but I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. I want to start with you, Shelly. What are your thoughts when you first heard the announcement?
I call it bittersweet. One, because of the way it was done or the way we were notified. So I think there's some, I don't know, I would call it character issues, if you will, at Fox News from the management on down. But ultimately, I do think Tucker is going to come out on the winning side, and I hope he comes out crushing Fox.
All right. Yana, everybody was really taken by surprise with this news. What were your thoughts when you first heard the announcement? Do you believe this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing for Tucker?
I think he is pretty independent. A lot of people watched just Tucker and nothing else on Fox News, and he's actually famous internationally. So I know that he's translated into like Russian language. They watch him over there. So he's well known, and I think he'll survive just fine without Fox.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on this, Tyrone. How do you think this is going to affect the news landscape, especially for conservative news?
Well, I really don't think that there is true conservative news. I think Tucker Carlson was one of the rare exceptions to that. I think I've shared with you all, I have not watched any news, televised news of any kind, local, network, or cable, in it's just over 12 years now. And Tucker Carlson was someone that I did follow in his writing. He's a prolific writer, and I would encourage you all to go read his essay on his trip to Africa with none other than Al Sharpton. It's an interesting read, and it's the first thing I ever read from Tucker, and that had hooked me ever since. He's an intellectual, and I think he is going to be much better off in terms of his voice and financially without Fox.
All right. Well, we've all given our response to the news of Tucker Carlson leaving Fox News. I'll tell you another group of people who have given their response, The View. Take a look at this clip. This is clip number 4 of them first reacting to the news of the departure.
Word has just come down that Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways. They thank him for his service to the network and host of a prior contributor. Wave. You know, we'll talk more about it tomorrow but we wanted to make sure that we let you know what was going on.
Well, can I ask the audience if they'll help me do something? Come on, folks. Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Na 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 na.
I mean,
sayonara.
I don't think anyone likes to celebrate the demise of someone's career, but
Well,
he
he's
is,
not-
but
he's
he is
not dead,
responsible for the demise of someone's career.
Yeah.
But he is responsible for the degradation that we see somewhat of our democracy in this country. And I just think, as a faithful person, look at God. Look at God.
Well, and
You know?
Russian propaganda hardest hit. I mean, he's been the biggest purveyor of pro-Russian talking
Yeah.
points. So it's a good day for the Ukrainian people.
Karma doesn't
tomorrow,
lose
yeah.
anyone's address.
No.
So.
Well, it may misplace the address, but it does not lose.
All right. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, the fat lady has sung. But is it over for Tucker? I want to get your response to that video, Yana. You heard one thing they said was that Tucker was the biggest supporter and advocate of pro-Russia propaganda. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, from what I've seen, they can interpret it that way. He is an American, and he was speaking from a perspective of an American person who doesn't want to get involved in a foreign war. So just because you do not want to get involved doesn't mean that you're supporting one side or the other. And he was speaking facts. So it has absolutely, him leaving Fox or staying at Fox has no effect on Ukraine or Russia. Like, it's so ridiculous. That is a ridiculous statement. He is not affecting their policies at all. And if he wants to continue speaking, if he wants to have his something independent, people will still know who he is and listen to him. These women over there, who are they? If one of them leave, or gets let go or whatever, or they close the View, that's it. No one's gonna care what they have to say.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to get your response on this, Shelley. They were crazy excited about him leaving.
Look, it is as American as apple pie. When your side wins or loses, you're going to cheer. So you know what? That's normal. People do that all the time, for depending on whatever side you're on. However, I love it. I thought it was comical. Number one, they're only applauding because maybe their ratings might go up a little bit more. They will never be where Tucker is. So maybe because he's gone, it may give them a little boost. So they're gonna only increase their ratings because someone else is gone. Tucker Carlson with 3+ million more viewers. Okay, they will never have his ratings or his primetime profundity. So that's already gone. That's a given. Number three, when what's her name? She's so smug. I can't stand her. Sunny.
Right.
Look at God. This is another thing. The Black people always look at God. Look at God. This trope. Well, guess what? A few minutes after hearing about Tucker, Donna Lemon was kicked off too. So look at God. Look at God. He was gone too. They didn't like that though. So we're cheering that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to have you have the last comment on this, Tyrone, as far as their response to Tucker leaving Fox News. What are your thoughts?
Well, actually, this is an opportunity. I'd like to speak to all the single guys out there. Here's one question you should ask a woman if you're dating. You want to, maybe carry it further. Hey, do you watch The View? If she says yes, say, hey, Garcon, give him $100. Say, hey, you give her whatever she wants. Have a pleasant life and leave. Okay. The View is the biggest, most disgusting collection of harpies that has ever been assembled on television. You can see the misery in Sunny's face. She exudes it. And Whoopi Goldberg, what a country this is. When you can claim to be a comedian, make millions of dollars, and never having said anything funny. So that's how I feel about the ladies on, and I use that term loosely, on The View.
All right, we will leave it right there. Again, please comment as we go through the show. We will check the comments periodically. Again, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Share this clip or this show in a messenger on your social media platform. We want to get the word out. Hopefully, shows like us can get The View kicked off of the air. So definitely subscribe. All right, moving right along. Another big announcement this week was President Biden announced his bid for re-election this week. His campaign phrase is "finish the job." So I want to get your thoughts on this, Tyrone. What grade would you give Biden's economic policies, and how have they affected everyday Americans' wallets thus far?
I would expel Biden. I would say you don't have the capability to even generate an F here, sir. This is not the place for you. When he came out with that slogan, finish, all I could hear was Mortal Kombat and him standing over the corpse of the Statue of Liberty, finish her, because Joe, you basically finished us. We're barely going to make it out of the next 2 years with this guy. Okay. If you look around economically, seriously, today, Argentina announced that they were going to terminate cross-border transactions with China. They would stop dealing in dollars, start using the Chinese yuan. Okay. Now everybody says, oh, well, the Chinese yuan, it was only 2% of global reserves. Yeah, it was. Now it's 2.7. And by the way, the United States was 62%. Now we're down to 58. And this is in the course of 2 years, guys. Okay. So things are changing, and the vacuum of leadership that we see in the White House is, totally responsible for it.
Absolutely. I want to get you guys in on this, Shelley and Yana. Any questions for Tyrone?
No, I don't have a question, but I want to say to Biden's slogan, finish the job. This is probably one time he's telling the truth. because that is what he's doing. This started under the Obama administration. I've been saying for years, the most profound 13 words ever spoken by a president. We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. And Biden has continued that mission. And so he is set to finish it. I think this is the one time he has told the truth, and still people are not listening.
Yeah, I mean, political ideology aside, when you think about and compare him to other world leaders like Putin and other world leaders, he's not even there. I mean, where he's talking about finish the job, does he even know if he started?
I don't know if you guys heard him stumbling and saying that the only thing we can do is re-elect Trump. And like he literally said that. He was stumbling on his words, and he was like, we cannot be he was like, we can only re-elect Trump. Like he was so confused. And finish the job. Like when I heard that made me think of like, murdering someone, meaning like, that like a poor animal or something, is dying, and you're like, you know what, just finish the job.
Yeah. It put him to sleep. I mean, it's done, and it feels like that's what he's been trying to do all this time. I mean, we haven't seen the United States look like this, ever, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right.
I mean, he's done a terrible job. And with his announcement, he put out a campaign ad talking about his reelection. In this, he didn't show anything about what he's done during his presidency. All it was targeted against was Trump. Everything was pushed against Trump.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, that was a video, so he didn't even give it in person. So this is a precursor of what's to come.
Right.
He's probably not going to campaign in person in real time. He's going to be in some underground bunker or somewhere, and nobody's going to know if it's him or not, because I really believe that the real Biden is probably on a morphine drip half of the night. And then he's getting some other kind of medication to wake him up a little bit in the morning. He's not running the country. He has handlers that are doing his bidding through him. He's just the front man. But they are on a mission to finish America. The Statue of Liberty, she's going to be headless soon.
Yeah, and I agree with Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, and Victoria Nuland over at the State Department. Those individuals are the power behind the throne. And I know a lot of people, well, Susan Rice just left. It doesn't matter whether she's physically there in the building or not. She has the ear of Barack Obama, and they just figure out what they're going to do. They bring a pad to Joe Biden's desk, sign this, old man, and we'll give you some tapioca. He does it enthusiastically, and here we are.
Yeah, and I want to ask you guys one last question before we move on, but I mean, I'm still apprehensive about this because, look, the country, Pennsylvania, just elected kind of the same thing, Fetterman. I mean, everyone was talking about how he was not mentally or physically capable to do the job. And Pennsylvanians still elected him as their congressperson. He gets into the job, and not long after, he put himself in a mental institution, and he's really he's non-existent. I mean, this is the same thing. Are they going to do this again with Biden? It's kind of like the same thing. What are your thoughts?
So part of this, I think, is that many of these people in these high offices in government, they're baby boomers. They're the older baby boomers. They're aging out, so they want to do everything they can to secure their benefits or whatever it is off of the Americans' tits. That's what they really want to do. So they're sucking it dry. Again, they're taking everything with them. They don't give a darn about how Americans will fare in the long run. They don't give a darn about the American stability and how we look to internationally on the international stage. That's not their agenda. Their agenda ultimately is to destroy America and reserve for themselves whatever goodies they can collect along the way. That's what they're doing. They don't give a damn about it.
What does it say about the electorate that continue to elect these type of people? I mean, again, I mean, Biden is, I mean, scary. It's eerie. It's uncomfortable now the way he acts. It's clear that the man is not all there, but he has a good chance of winning re-election.
Well, I've always said that, and this has become so clear in the last 3 years. Liberty, that concept, you can't have it with an electorate or population that is not cognizant of history. Okay. You can't have liberty in a population of people who resist critical thought. All right. You can literally, this is where we are. All you have to do is make a certain sound. And I'm saying this is a sound. There's no substance. There doesn't have to be any substance behind it. All you have to do is make something that sounds like racist and point at an individual. And the mob will just react like a Pavlovian dog. Okay. That's where we're beyond idiocracy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have a Manchurian candidate. Take a look at this clip.
Campaign that's about negative attacks and the one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me. We can only reelect Donald Trump and turn this primary.
He's right.
We can't win this re-election. We can only re-elect Donald Trump. That's literally what
I think, and folks who are watching, you may think that was kind of choppy or you were losing connection. No, that was him fully played. I mean, he can't communicate.
And to Tyrone, I want to add one thing to your concept about liberty. I agree with you. I want to add this maybe. I don't think that concept resonates with a people where many of them, maybe the majority, have been spoon-fed and literally live off of the government's gifts and goodies, so that they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. That same hand that's keeping them down, they don't even see that, doesn't even register. Right. They have fought for nothing. They have had to fight for nothing.
You're right.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we will continue fighting for the truth and getting out these facts and information. And that starts with you, Tyrone, with all of your great economic knowledge and financial knowledge. Where can people find you for when you're not on here?
The Soldiers of Finance channel on YouTube. We are just shy of 4,000 subscribers, so we want people to enlist by hitting that subscribe button. And we're going to be adding some additional value once we cross the 4,000 mark, which might be tonight, as a matter of fact.
Excellent. All right. Well, we are lucky to have you on the last Wednesday of each month. Again, Soldiers of Finance on YouTube. Check him out there for more information.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
All right. So, folks, we are moving right along to something local here in Baltimore, Maryland. So on the anniversary of the death of Freddie Gray, Governor Wes Moore tweeted out, Freddie Gray's tragic death was a turning point for not just those who knew him personally, but for all of Baltimore as well. Honoring his memory means continuing the fight for justice and accountability. So what happened to him and far too many others never happens to anyone else. So this is what he said. And if you don't know, Freddie Gray, we had our kind of George Floyd moment here in Baltimore. Freddie Gray was a local, I don't know what you call it, kind of criminal. I mean, he was, this local guy who had a rap sheet a mile long. And he died while in custody with Baltimore City police officers. So it was huge unrest here in the city. There were riots and protests and everything, similar to what the George Floyd protest did nationally. And this is what happened. So in a letter to the governor, the president of the Police Officers Union reminded the governor that all officers were cleared of any wrongdoing in the case. They wrote, instead of commending the men and women who risk their lives on a daily basis, you chose to pay homage to a drug dealer, end quote. I want to get your response to this, Shelley. I mean, were they right on to say that, or did Governor Westmore have some reason to say that?
Well, not only were they right to say it, I also said something similar on the Governor Westmore's pages on social media. Governor Moore probably thinks that he has some legitimacy in saying that. But look, we talked about Governor Moore before he was elected. We said that he was going to run on this progressive campaign, these progressive policies. Not once has he even made any kind of statement to that magnitude talking about the black on black crime that takes place on the streets of Baltimore every day. That's not there. In Annapolis, he has not pushed or advocated for any bill, any of these legislators to pass bills that would make the penalties even more severe for the criminals that walk the streets, not just in Baltimore, but of Maryland. Governor Westmore is going to destroy Maryland and Baltimore City. Just like Biden is going to finish the job for America, Governor Westmore is his counterpart here in Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yana, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think the police chief of the fraternal police chief he was legitimate and had something to say, or do you believe he went too far?
Yeah, absolutely. He has the right to say this. And the governor needs to be looking into the future. Okay, this was an incident in 2015. Okay, we dealt with the incident. If you want to go back and dig up the files, I mean, whatever. But we keep going back to this and not looking at the present issues. Like Shelley said, the murders that are happening to people every day. That is what he should be looking at, then going back to something that happened. Okay, it happened and we dealt with it. Now what? Like, this is not the issue at the moment. So,
right.
So what he's doing with that, he's pandering. He's pandering for his base. And that's it. He's just getting, he knows, that's what Tyrone was mentioning in the previous segment, that he is just throwing out these words and ideas to just get the sheep to follow him.
But why wouldn't he continue to do it? I mean, it seems to be working. His entire campaign was race baiting and playing on people's emotions. I mean, as we know, Maryland is a very leftist state. Baltimore City is very liberal, a predominantly black city. And what he's doing, as you mentioned, playing to his base is working. Why change?
No, you're right. That's what he's doing. I think ultimately what he's doing, he's making his path, cutting the path to the White House. That's what he really wants. But in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of destruction in the wake here left in Baltimore and Maryland. Look, there was absolutely no reason except to fan these flames, again, these racism flames, to keep the fires going, right? To keep stoking the fires so that the people who vote for him and who hang on to him, that they'll always have something right at edge to keep them holding on to him, to keep the pointing to this boogeyman that everyone else is a racist and the police are no good and the police are killing black people. No, they're not. Black people are killing and murdering and robbing, carjacking black people, mostly in Baltimore and in Maryland. And not just here in Baltimore, in other cities across the country. Wherever the progressive policies are, wherever the Democrats are in charge, there is black on black murder. The streets are bloody.
It's to divert attention from the real issues and from people actually looking at the governor and wanting change from him, wanting him to implement some sort of changes so life is better. So of course you can start throwing out these okay, we should blame this group or that group, just never look at us, it's never us. So that's what he is doing.
Well, let's go and move on. I mean, similarly, we have Ralph Yarl. So Ralph Yarl is a black teenager who was shot by an 84-year-old white homeowner in Kansas City. Ralph went to the wrong address. He pulled up into this homeowner's address. and he was shot by the gentleman. This man's name was, I believe, Lee Merritt, the man who shot him. This has been plastered all over the news, everywhere, about this shooting. And Ralph, he has made full recovery, I believe, but he was invited to the White House, I think, or did Biden call him in the hospital? I mean, it's been a huge thing. So again, I'm sad that this happened to him, and it definitely was tragic and wrong. But why does he get all of the hoopla? And we've covered this. The people who were mowed down by the guy in Waukesha, Kansas. We don't hear anything about that in the news. Biden never went down to that parade.
Oh, we don't hear about random people in Baltimore, random black people, teenagers being shot, children being shot. Right. No news. No, they're not invited to the White House.
Nope. And I don't. What is it, the Biden administration? They haven't seen or gone to my understanding, to the 6 families whose loved ones were murdered down at the church, at the school in Tennessee. They haven't seen those people either. But they brought the lawmakers, or they want to cater to the lawmakers who the Tennessee 3 who were put out. Yeah. So let me tell you why.
I believe they were invited to
this young boy shot. Tragic, horrible. It will be adjudicated appropriately through the courts. It's going to do that. It's going to go through that process, as it should, right? But it makes the news because it establishes the narrative that white people are out to murder, kill, and harm black people. That's all. That's as simple as what it is, and this is why they're latching onto it. It's a perfect story. Progressive media.
Yeah, it's a perfect story for them. They were probably I'm sorry to say, but they were elated in the newsroom to hear a news story like this, because this is a news story for a long time for them.
Yeah, and they're using black people, and this is what I don't understand: why black people, urban communities don't realize this and look deeper into how they are being used and manipulated. This similar situation just happened. I believe it was the same week as the Ralph Yarl shooting, but the 2 people who were involved were white people. There was a white girl, I believe white woman was shot dead after pulling into the wrong driveway. She was shot and she died.
Yep.
And someone shot her. I believe it was a white man.
It was a white man.
Her. Okay. No news, no national news, no call from Biden. Nothing. Nothing from Kamala Harris. Nothing. But they push this all over screens. Everywhere you go, you see something about Ralph Yarl.
Yep. Let me tell you, I have a theory, and this is not a theory, but why a lot of black people do not realize or don't want to admit that they're being manipulated. Just like children who are abused by their caregivers, they still have this attachment. They still love these people who abuse them a lot of times, because these are the people who have cared for them, take them to school, whatever. So there's this confusion, if you will, in the minds of a child. So I'm going to kind of compare that to these black people who are manipulated in this abusive relationship that they don't want to give up. They don't want to see the light. They don't want to admit that they are being manipulated by the Progressive Democrat Party, who's really screwing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
think it's indoctrination. I think it's because, and I talked about this many times, from a young age, there's this indoctrination. White people are out to get you, and, they want to murder you. And then, of course, then it gets reinforced. So it's like this indoctrination keeps happening. So when they hear it, it sounds familiar. And so when sounds familiar, it's like something you've learned, like a religion from the early age. It's like, oh, it must be true.
Right.
Yeah. I think you ever talk, and stay with me here as I mention this, but you ever know somebody who was adopted? So I have a personal relationship with this. Many people that are adopted, they have something where they have a like some type of complex where they feel like sometimes they're going to be left or
an abandonment concept.
Abandoned. And to me, I think black people are like that. And I don't think it's natural. I think it's something to do, like it was brought on by the slavery, I believe, the idea of slavery. But then instead of just that sentiment has been passed down through generations and pressed on Black people to have a complex and to always try to hold on to some type of something that they feel makes them special to me. I mean, this brings us to our next topic, which is this the cultural appropriation of Cleopatra. Now, let me tell you, this actually almost brought tears to my eyes because I researched this after doing for this segment. I always thought Cleopatra was Black. I always thought Cleopatra was Black. And there was always this big thing about her, white people trying to take Cleopatra from us. And I remember being young and they would say Cleopatra was Black and she was African. And when people, even my mom used to talk about her, what's her name? The actress who played her,
Elizabeth
Taylor. She was white. Why is she playing Cleopatra? I think just a couple of years ago, Angelina Jolie was up for the role to play Cleopatra in a movie. And that was a big thing. Why they have this white woman playing Cleopatra? And then I researched it for this segment, and we're going to talk about it. And she was not Black. She was Greek. I was floored when I saw that. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Before we get into it, let's play this. I want to play clip 2 of the Netflix documentary about Cleopatra.
I remember my grandmother saying to me, I don't care what they tell you in school, Cleopatra was Black.
She has become an icon.
I am a god, queen of kings.
Her story resonates with every woman.
So again, that was the documentary that has been created by Jada Pinkett Smith for Netflix, and it has gotten a lot of criticism. And this is just one. Now we have, people are saying that it was culturally appropriated. Also, some Egyptians are suing her for that. What are you guys' thoughts on this? I'll start with you. Yana.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'm more similar, genetically to Cleopatra than Jada, and I mean, it's just the facts. Like we need to present the history as it is. So, I mean, we have no problem presenting someone who was actually an African person. Like nobody has. I don't think people would have a problem if there's real historical evidence that somebody was African and we need to present that person as such. But I mean, I can totally understand the Egyptians. I mean, they study the Egyptian society, historical society, that's their life, to study history. So I can see how frustrated they are. They're actual scientists. And this is it's not a fiction story. They're doing a documentary. So come on.
Yeah. I want to get you in on this, Shelley. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I think her name is Adele James. I think just the clips that I saw, when I saw the clip come out, I think she will work and fit that role very well. I think her complexion looks more Middle Eastern. It looks yes, Cleopatra was Greek, but it looks from the Middle Eastern culture. Her complexion fits the role. But I want to go back. You mentioned earlier, I was going to mention Elizabeth Taylor and Charlton Heston playing Moses. All of these actors, why not just have an actor who can act the part? Yes, I understand it's a documentary, a docudrama, whatever, but Adele is fine for that role. I don't see what the big deal is. I just don't.
Well, let me say, so first of all, it is a documentary. It's not supposed to be a fictional.
So that means the woman has to be Greek?
Well, you want someone that represents what, the history, what this woman, what Cleopatra is actually supposed to look like. And on top of that, it's not just her physical appearance. The way this movie has been branded is this is a Black empowerment moment for African Americans.
Now that's different.
It's a whole, well, it goes along with it. Let me play this clip. This is clip 1 of an Egyptian talking about what this documentary.
Now, the problem for me, it's not about color. It's not about white and black. This is a very reductive way to talk about things. This is the way that Americans talk about it. I'm very sorry. Like, I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me, or they can look deeper skin tone, like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement. The Afrocentric movement started the last century as a way, in a good intention, to teach African American about their rich history of West Africa, the great empire of Benin, of Ghana, of Songhali, the great empire of Mali. But the thing is, that's why you find people like Kevin Hart, who subscribes to these theories, who claim that his ancestors built the pyramids. I'm sorry, your ancestors had their own wonderful civilization in West Africa. They are culture appropriating my culture, calling the people of Egypt of today, despite their skin tone, that they call us as invaders, they call us as intruders, and they are being erased from our own history. This is something that Hollywood has done over the years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it is.
So I understand what he's saying. He's making the point that I made as far as the skin color. It's not about skin color, because I think Adele will do fine for that if that's what all of it's about. Now that it's billed as an Afrocentric brand of whatever, that she was the African queen, then yeah, that history is not true. That's not true.
Yeah, I mean, but again, they're playing on the emotions of, and I'll just frankly say it, of people who aren't researching this, who don't know. Black people like me who felt some type of affinity to Cleopatra, thinking that she was Black.
And I wonder if they. I mean, I'm curious how they're gonna make this documentary. Are they going to talk about the fact that she was from a society that was very just perverted at that point? I mean, maybe that's why they're drawn to Cleopatra so much, because she was married to 2 of her brothers and killed them. And then she was herself as a product of incest. She had multiple lovers. She was known, to be this promiscuous queen, and then she kills herself with a snake because. A snake bite, because she was losing her kingdom. Yeah. And I mean, I think I'm really curious how they're going to portray that.
I doubt it very seriously.
Yeah. They might not do all that. But look, to be fair, during that time and even preceding that time period, people did marry their cousins and siblings. Right. So that was not. I mean, that was happened.
Yeah, but that was the collapse. I mean, I believe that because of such customs, eventually these empires collapsed, and it was in Rome. I'm sure there was going on in that entire region, and it was getting worse and worse. And this kind of degradation of society has caused them to collapse.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And we do know that because again, in researching. She wasn't Egyptian. She had to learn to speak Egyptian. But her lineage came from a Ptolemy, and she was living in Rome and in Greece and things like that. So.
Oh, and there are depictions of her from those times. Like there's a drawing, a painting of her. There's a sculpture of her face, very detailed, that was made right around her life. Actually, the sculpture was made during her life, and the painting was made right after her death, because that's what they did when people died. They made a painting of them. And so we can clearly see, and you can see that the painting and the sculpture, you can see that it's the same person. So it's very clear to see that she looked Greek. She had very distinct Greek features. She was European, but she had this like Greek nose that was very distinct.
So this is my question, similar to what you're saying, KJ, I guess. Why would, I guess, Jada Pinkett and her staff continue to push this narrative, this lie that Cleopatra was Egyptian, was black, if you will? Why? Because again, here we have another celebrity who really is manipulating the public, and people are latching onto it. Now, just as an aside, you know, I claim Cleopatra and Sheba as part of my lineage. Y'all know I'm part of the Queen of Sheba's line. So I don't care. And Nefertiti as well. But I figure if we can trans and people can be men and women, then I can damn sure be a part of the line of Cleopatra, Nefertiti, and Queen of Sheba. So that's fine. But why is Jada?
Is it true? Is it true?
That's what I'm claiming. But why is Jada Pinkett? Why is Jada Pinkett still pushing this lie? And why are black people, again, why not open up a book, Google anything you want, and find out what the truth is? I don't care. I mean, I understand it's a docudrama. So a docudrama is not a full biography or a full. It's not a full biography. So it does have some creative license to it.
The docudrama. The difference between a docudrama and a documentary is the docudrama actually has actors and it's
I get that, but it's not a full biography. It's not a full biography. It's not a full biography. There is some.
I'm not saying it's a full biography, but the docu part, it's not a movie either. The docu part is supposed to represent that it's supposed to stick to historical facts.
I got that part, but there is still some room for creative license.
Yeah, there's room for making like a personal story or something. That there was, I don't know, you have to have actors, of course, to create some sort of affinity for the actors. So you have to create a bit of fictional story, but you cannot make it completely so fictional that it doesn't even follow her lineage. Like that is not just a little bit of creativity,
right?
That is like a complete lie.
It's a lie, and we know why she's doing it. Right now, it's very popular to be a woman and to paint women as the victors and as the rulers. And then it's very even more popular.
She lost her kingdom, didn't she? I mean, what did she win?
Well, eventually they all lost their kingdoms. Yeah, so I mean, they were overtaken by the Romans.
And she was the last. She was the last emperor. She actually, after her, that's it. That was the end.
Then the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire came to fruition. So.
Right. I mean, honestly, I never really took to the whole, there's a whole movement that tries to have some type of connection with the pharaohs and Egyptians and all of that stuff. I mean, that's never been me. I don't really care. But there has always been a big movement to that. I mean, if another co-host was here, I'm sure she would claim it. I mean, you have black people who, were getting the tattoos and the chains and wearing all this Egyptian stuff. And to me, it was always kind of occult. Because again, as you mentioned, they were very, there was a lot of degradation, a lot of, debauchery and all kinds of stuff in that community there. So,
and there's
another
wrong
thing is that another thing I think why Jada Pinkett, or like you said, this is the thing now. This is the thing to do. It's easy for these celebrities to latch on to the history, however inaccurate they want to portray it, right? However inaccurately they want it portrayed, but they don't talk about the current events that's happening in Black people's lives. They escape all of that. They just, don't even go there. Can't do that. But let's go into history, portray it inaccurately or however much license you want to add to it. But let's not talk about the reality of people living in urban areas or wherever across the country every day that look like you. Let's not talk about
because of the drama. Because of the emotion. This is what draws most people in. And they're doing this because they equate this to votes. This is what gets them votes. Exactly. So they've had, now Jada will step on the stages talking about Cleopatra. She'll get standing ovations. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. And all along, it's all a lie. It's a lie, and they're using it as a manipulation. And this is what I'm talking about. You know, Black people are being manipulated, and they don't care.
Right. And I mean, to Jada, I mean, she should be the last person that wants to be portrayed as a strong queen. She couldn't even take a joke about being G.I. Jane.
No, I honestly believe that. Before I would say that it was just, this is just what people like to do as far as this, but now I think it's a concerted effort to manipulate, the populace. I really do. This is, and I hate to be conspiratorial, but it sounds like this is a concerted effort. This is an agenda to blatantly lie to people.
This is like 1984. 1984, the book, they're rewriting history as far back as Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Right.
Except Yana, George Orwell was trying to warn us. He wasn't saying take the book and do what I'm telling you, do what's in the book. He was trying to warn us.
Yeah. Well, we will move right along to the next topic, which are the lockdowns. So talking about people losing their mind. Take a look at this. This is clip number 3.
Stuck in a holding pattern for weather, and an SW, a passenger loses his mind over a baby.
That child has been crying for 40 minutes. Lower that, and you can't put your fucking finger about things like that. Calm the child down, please. I had headphones on. I was sleeping. Why is the baby yelling? I'm not screaming. You want me to scream? You want me to scream? I'll fucking scream. Please stop the baby. Please. Bro, please. That child was a black baby. What the fuck would be happening right now? I know you're not going there. You're not going there. I'm fucking going there. They're not in Florida yet. You can't do what the fuck you feel like. Fuck. I was asleep the whole time. You haven't served me anything. I
try to keep my calm, but if I wasn't on this plane, I would.
There's a child crying on the flight, non-fucking stop. That's what's happening.
Who's worse, a baby or a grown man's hand like this?
Can you lower that voice?
That's be rational.
No, that's not. No. Let's be rational. Hold on. You want to be rational? No. Don't tell me what the fuck I need to do. Let's be rational. We are in a fucking tin can with a baby in a goddamn echo chamber, and you want to talk to me about being fucking okay?
Okay, because you're yelling.
So is the baby.
Okay, so you're a man.
Did that motherfucker pay extra to yell?
Okay.
No. Fuck you and shut up.
No.
You're disturbing me now. I don't give a fuck. You were sitting there watching that motherfucking baby cry for 45 something minutes. That shit didn't have nothing to do.
Wow. So this is what people have really lost their minds. And I want people who are watching, have you all noticed that since the lockdowns, the nuts have come out in full force? I've seen this more and more over the last several years. People are nuts. And then, of course, he had to add the racial. He had to find some type of racial point to it. And if the child was a black baby.
What would they do if it was a black baby? What is he trying to say?
Throw the baby from the plane.
Throw it off the plane.
Throw the baby from the plane. Look, let me tell you something. Y'all gonna be upset with me, but I commiserate with that man. Now, I don't understand. I don't get the cursing and all that stuff, but I understand what that man was feeling. Because if you've been on a tin can 20, 30,000 feet in the air and you can't do anything and you hear a baby crying for an hour, it's beyond unnerving. Now, Let
we
me say
all
this.
had that experience.
I think that man, his yelling or whatever, and said, the MF and baby or whatever. The baby, you could that man that was laughing, that was recording, that would have been me, I think. But I don't know. I could have been the man fussing. But the baby was still crying. Y'all know, if you've been anywhere, you go to church and hear a baby crying, and black people will be looking at, oh my gosh, you better get that baby. You can't do that. Well, that's how they act. That be on a tin can, an aluminum tin can, 30,000, 45,000 feet in the air for some hours with a crying baby nonstop. I understand how that man felt. That baby didn't pay extra to yell, and I understand what he felt.
Well, then it's something wrong with you. It's something wrong with you.
It's called not wanting to
We
have
all
a
had that
experience,
experience, Shelly. I've flown 14, 18
So have
hours
I. I've
flights.
flown for 18 hours many times. Yes, I have. So have I.
Right.
Have you done it with a baby?
Did I? I mean,
Oh,
yes,
no, that's my point. That's my
Have
point.
you done it with a baby?
Yes. I have flown. My child has been flying with me since she was about 6 months. But I'm talking about, hearing a baby cry for that long, I can understand how
it wasn't even that long. I was in the plane that a child was screaming for hours.
That's why I said I understand how that man felt.
I was sitting next to an old lady that kept farting.
Yeah. Listen. People have lost it. People have really lost it. And let me tell you, if I was on that plane and he was kirking out on my baby, he would have had a problem. He wouldn't have made it to the ground. He would not have made it to the ground. People have forgot that we have to live in a world with other people. Have people gotten so high on their horse that you can't be in the presence of a baby? I mean,
not crying for multiple hours on the plane. I understand how that man felt. I understand.
I understand that it's annoying. I certainly do that.
I'm not saying he should be cursing at the baby and cursing like that. I'm not saying that, but I understand how he felt. Yes, I did.
It was funny to me when they said you're yelling. When they were like, "You're yelling," he's like, "So is the baby," and it's like, well, who is the baby here then?
This man is crazy. He was crazy. And if everybody on the plane probably felt annoyed by the baby crying. Everybody. Probably felt that way. Okay, but you have to control the way you react to it.
Oh, of course. I think he could have handled it better, but I did go on sure understand how he felt.
Well, he should have been arrested, and I think he was. He was arrested when they got to the.
When they got off, I don't know if he was arrested. I know the police talked to him. I know they
should have been arrested. He should have been arrested.
For what?
Well, they had to land the plane.
Well, for what? What should he have been arrested for?
Because there are laws for flying the plane. You can't do that. You can't be.
No, what should he have been arrested? What did he try to do? I don't know what you're saying. I'm not sure.
They arrest somebody for not following procedure.
What procedure did he not follow?
Again, I don't know, but I know they have landed planes and arrested people for not following directions.
And I'm saying, what should he have been arrested for? See, here we go again. Another conservative want to arrest everybody for everything. Here we go. Everything needs to be arrested for. All that man was doing, yes, he was rude. He was rude, whatever. But here we go again. A conservative want to arrest for what? He was rude. Yes, he was wrong. He was loud.
They had to land the plane. They had to
do that. That's what they do. That's what they do. They do that. Yes, but what were the charges on which he should have been arrested?
I'll look it up so you can see why he was arrested, because I'm sure he was arrested. I don't
know. I know the police talked to him.
Our producers look that up to see.
I know the police talked to him.
There are many. Listen, when you're on a plane, there are different laws and regulations that must be followed. Not so much.
And all I'm saying is, what would the charges have been? That's all I'm asking.
We're gonna have the producers look it up, and I hope he was arrested.
And I'm saying I hope he was not. I do know the police talked to him. I did see that part. But for what? What should he be arrested for?
Feel like he should have been arrested or no?
No, I don't. For what?
We're gonna see what it was. He was disruptive, and it caused them to have to land the plane.
That's what I hear. What you're saying, but I'm saying what would be the charge?
Well, I mean, the thing is that the flight attendants are there to make sure that everyone is safe and they're following, that the flight is going peacefully. And so when they have to,
well, it wasn't going peacefully.
All their because of the baby. So all their attention was towards the screaming man who's an adult who's supposed to calm down. So I mean, they cannot. What if something else was happening on the plane that needed their attention, and we're having a man meltdown?
Look, the man was fussing, cussing. Yes, he was wrong and loud. He was not physical with anyone, as far as I can see.
You can be arrested for being disorderly, right? It's called disorderly conduct. You don't have to assault. You don't have to be physical. You can be arrested for disorderly conduct in a private place or in a public place. You can be arrested.
Yes, he can be. I'm saying he shouldn't have been. I'm sorry, my allergies are acting up.
Well, you guys, this is to answer your question. I'm about to jump in, you guys. So CBS reported the man who had the meltdown was taken off the flight by authorities and was met by police outside the terminal. We are told he was not arrested. Okay. So there you go.
All right.
I do know. I know the police met him there, which is a part of the protocol. But to be arrested for what?
I wish he was arrested for disorderly conduct. That's why.
I mean, there are some rules against profanity. I don't know if there is such laws, or there could be something like that. There was way too much profanity. I wish there was some kind of rules about that.
Oh, please, come on. Yeah, it was inappropriate, whatever. But okay, come on. Like we probably
but that's
heard
what we're talking about. Now we're excusing people. So
no, I'm saying he shouldn't have been cursing like that. We probably heard words. I do understand how he felt.
Listen,
we feel all kinds of ways.
He should have been arrested because you have people that it would have caused a big issue. God placed the mother and father on that flight, or whoever was on there with that baby. He placed the right one, because stuff like that will get you hurt quick.
Well, then you would have been arrested
in a small space like that. That's why somebody like him needs to be arrested.
And that's why I understand, because you are in a small space. You have nobody can go anywhere. He couldn't walk away from it. That's why I say I understand how he felt.
Well, he should have been arrested because he disrupted the whole flight. And he wasn't listening to direction. Cursing at
that mother
he told the flight attendant,
whatever in the baby's mouth.
F you to the flight attendants. It's too much. It's wrong. It's very wrong.
And that's what we're talking about. That people have lost their minds recently. People are acting like children. They are, following their feelings, not their logical sense. So they do not know how to be adults anymore. They're acting like babies and then blaming another baby for their behavior. So I see it all the time. I've noticed it actually during lockdowns in 2021 when I was driving a lot and people were driving crazy. And I've driven a lot in my life. Like, it's not like I just started driving that year. Like, I've always had jobs where I had to move from one place to another during the day. So but all of a sudden I see like this insane accidents with like a car flying off the road or passing somebody on the the side, like not the lane, but like the side of the road. Yeah. And it's like just zooming over, around. So yeah, I see it every week. And another thing just happened this morning in our neighborhood. Our trash cans were gone this morning. The bins that you leave, to get, they were gone because somebody took them and then tried to take off the stickers off the cans. Like, our neighbors did that. And
they've been doing that before the pandemic. So the pandemic.
But it's like, really? And we found them.
People have lost it. People are just riled up. It's like they've riled up. It's like a soda cans that you've shaken and they're just ready to pop. This is how I feel. And I deal with people all over the country daily. And people and I've been doing this for 15 years. And I have noticed very much so that now people have lost it. They are really tightly wound. They do not have any type of decorum. They don't know how to talk to people. We're seeing that more and more. I don't know if it's because they're secluded or isolated now, they're still afraid about being in contact with people. I don't know, but people are really crazy, man, really crazy. So hopefully something will come of this. I hope this. I mean, you would think everyone would be settled down by now. I personally know people who are off after this pandemic.
No, I don't. I think. I mean, I do notice that. I think people are very. There's less patience. I guess they are, like you said, they are wound up. Anything can trigger them, right? But I don't think it's going to abate anytime soon. I think there has been this national psychosis, if you will. I really do. And I think, it has affected many of us in different ways, different circumstances, but I think it's going to take a little bit more time. But what helps, I think, is being able to speak truth, to speak to people and ground people in reality.
Exactly. Ground them in reality is very key. And I think what we're seeing is people are not in reality. People have become beholden to social media, to their bubbles within social media, within their timelines and things like that. They're looking at their own different media, mainstream media platforms, who are fueling them with certain messages and certain things that are not true. And people are just riled up. You find people who don't watch much TV or who are not so much ingrained in electronics and social media, they seem happier. They do. They seem happier because they don't know what's going on. You talk to somebody, actually, I know someone personally like this. You talk to somebody and say, hey, you didn't hear about this? They're like, no, because they don't really watch the news. They're not online. They're not on social media platforms. And so they aren't as affected, I believe.
And this is the lack of accountability that we have talked about for a while. So everyone is this mentality that it's always someone else's fault. It's very difficult to look within yourself and find out, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? And so it's always someone else's fault. So I have to cut people off. I can yell at people. I can, because it's always someone else, they're not letting me through and whatever. Like, so it's this mentality, and it has started. I mean, I have to say it probably started way before the pandemic. It just we saw it more and more when people were having other problems in their lives, and then maybe all the psychosis was really coming out. But it's that lack of accountability and not being able. It's difficult to look within yourself, so then you start lashing out at the world.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Well, want to end on that note. One thing I like, I encourage everyone to listen or watch actually the clip of Tucker Carlson speaking at the Heritage Foundation's event I think it was last week. I watched the whole thing, and it was such a good speech. It was really good. And it was not overtly political. I think people who are faith people of faith would find positivity in the speech. Did anybody else see that? And
I saw some of it. I'm going to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I just bring that up to say, and it kind of foreshadowed his firing, because he talked about being beholden to corporate elitist, institutions, and how he found or realized that all of these institutions are lying in some type of way. And so I said that to say, as we started the show off, I think him not being with Fox is actually a good thing for patriots, because we're finding that these large corporations become beholden to advertising, become beholden to just the forces that be behind the scenes, and they're no longer beholden to the truth. So we'll see where it goes. Any last thoughts or final thoughts from you all?
Well, it's definitely true. Like, I totally agree, and I do hope that he continues to speak the truth. And yes, those organizations, you cannot trust them fully. I have heard from people who have gone to the interview, and before the interview, the interviewer would say, actually, I don't really believe everything I say, but I just have to say it. So they have a script. So you always have to be careful with when listening to mainstream media. They do have a script. They have an agenda. So hopefully we'll have more truth coming out with him leaving that organization.
I would just remind people or encourage people that if you offline, do like I do when you're in the airport. Scope out who's getting on the plane with you and pray that you don't get next to a baby that's kind of rambunctious that you can see. So just pray like I do that you don't sit next to one. So
I do. You know what? Since you said that, I pray that the next time you fly, you do, because I believe that your bubbly personality and your big face will make that baby smile and laugh and cool at the funny looking lady.
You don't know me, KJ. I know we got to go real quick. You can ask my kid about this. I think it was like 2 flights ago. I forget where we were going. But I said when we got on, I'm not an early morning person. We had an early flight and I had my coffee in my hand and this baby was just all over the place, even before we got onto the plane. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, the child sat, I think, in front of me, or I can't remember, in front of me or behind me. But I wound up telling the mother, it was behind me because he kept kicking my seat. I wound up turning around. I said, ma'am, can you please stop your child from kicking my chair? And she was apologetic, things like that. I get it, all that stuff. So he kept doing it. So you know what I did? The next time I turned around to the child, I said, keep your feet down. I didn't have any more problem out of him during that flight.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You have a thing with babies. This is what I'm talking. Lord, please bless her with the screaming baby.
Don't do it.
Send them away. All right. So that does it for this show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Continue the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. Share this broadcast, send it in a DM, post it to your timeline. We want to grow our community. You guys are part of it. Thank you for all of the comments tonight, but share, and subscribe. We are a necessary voice, and each time you do this, it makes our voice that much stronger. You can check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.